The DNA Diaries, a page 256 library publication, a book authored by Denny Roberts Ameke, and read to you by Charlotte Mugisha. Story 1.
Cloning and the Future. Chapter 3. The Church's Secret. Even within sacred walls, shadows can harbor the most profound secrets. End quote. Father Michael Croft. The following day, the sun was already high in the sky by the time Helen arrived at St. Andrew's Church. She had barely slept. Her mind kept replaying Rebecca's words, the photos from Ginger, the letter inside the safe, and most hauntingly, the crescent-shaped birthmark on her youngest son's neck. She parked her car just outside the church gate, holding the envelope she'd taken from James's drawer last night. Inside were copies of his ID, their marriage certificate, and a South African visa issued under his name, dated April 2003, a month after Liana Chitende was found murdered. Helen stepped into the cool shade of the church, the scent of incense washing over her like an old memory. Father Semanda greeted her with a smile. "Dr. Namukasa, I wasn't expecting to see you again so soon." "I need to speak with you," she said, her voice low but firm. "Alone." His smile faltered slightly. He led her to a small office behind the sanctuary, where dusty shelves lined the walls and a crucifix hung above the desk like a silent witness. "Please sit," he offered, but she stood still. Instead, she placed the marriage certificate on the table between them. "This document says my husband was widowed before we married," she began. "It lists his late wife as Liana Chitende." Father Semanda nodded slowly. "Yes, that's what our records show. But Liana Chitende was murdered in Kololo in March 2003, Helen said, watching his face carefully. "Her killer's DNA matches James Mwanda's exactly." The priest stiffened. His fingers curled around the edge of the desk. "That's not possible," he said finally. "James Mwanda was widowed before he met you. His first wife died in 2003. "You just said that," Helen snapped. "But it doesn't match reality. The woman listed as his deceased spouse was not his wife. She was his victim." Father Semanda looked away. "I'm not sure what you want me to say," he muttered. "I want the truth," Helen shot back. "How did this man convince you he was James Mwanda? What proof did he provide?" The priest exhaled heavily, then reached for a locked cabinet behind him. He retrieved a file and slid it across the table. Inside were scans of documents: a death certificate for Liana Chitende, signed by a NERA official who no longer worked at the hospital, a joint bank statement from 2001, and a photo of James, or someone who looked like him, holding hands with a woman whose face was familiar. Rebecca. Only now, she was labeled as Liana Chitende. Helen's breath caught. "What is this?" she asked, pulling out the photo. Father Semanda shook his head. "I don't know anymore. All I can tell you is that when he came to marry you, everything seemed in order. We performed the ceremony, and I blessed your union." "But he lied," Helen interjected. "Yes," the priest admitted. "He did." Back home. That evening, Helen sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the documents spread across the table. Her phone buzzed, and it was a message from Rebecca. "Did you ask about the widow?" Helen typed back. "They called her Liana Chitende." Seconds later, her phone rang. Rebecca's voice came through, sharp and urgent. "That's not her real name. I knew her. She was someone else entirely. A journalist investigating your husband's construction company. She disappeared in early 2003. Helen's heart raced hard. "She was never his wife?" she asked. "No," Rebecca stated. "She was his target." Then came the next bombshell. There's more. Did you say the 3-year-old has the same birthmark as her? Yes. Silence. Then, listen to me carefully, Helen. That mark isn't random. It's a family trait, passed down through generations, and only one line of people carry it. Helen's mouth went dry. Who? The clones, Rebecca snapped. James is one of 7, and that child? He might be the only one born naturally. Helen moved silently to their children's room, flashlight in hand. She checked each child again, tracing the lines of their faces and memorizing every detail. She lingered longest on the youngest. The crescent mark stood out clearly in sleep. She pulled up the autopsy photo on her phone. Same shape, same size, and same location. She scrolled down to the victim's file, and there in tiny print was something she hadn't noticed before. Maternal lineage, unconfirmed. Victim's mother, unknown. Paternal lineage, matched to sample number JMW 45987. Identity, unknown. She zoomed in. Sample number JMW 45987. James Mwanda. But how? Unless the child she gave birth to was not hers by blood. Unless he was planted. Unless he was part of something bigger and something darker. The next morning, James walked into the kitchen singing a hymn. He found Helen standing by the table, tea in hand. He kissed her cheek. "Morning, love." She didn't respond. He poured himself tea and sat at the table. "You're quiet today," he said. "I went back to the church," she replied. He froze. "Oh, you did?" he asked casually. "They told me about Liana Chitende," she said, watching his face. He blinked once, then smiled. "She was a beautiful woman," he said smoothly. "But a tragic end. I remember showing you her photo the other day." "She was murdered," Helen snapped, "and her killer's DNA matched yours." James set the cup down gently. "I see you've been talking to ghosts," he said. "Some people just can't let the past die." "And yet," Helen countered, stepping closer, "you built your entire life on lies." He leaned back, calm again. "Sometimes," he said, "the truth is less useful than the story." Before she could reply, there was a knock at the door again, just like it happened the first day. A man in a black suit stood at the door. This time, Helen didn't ask any question. She opened the door. The man handed her a sealed envelope. No name, no address. Inside was a single sentence written in neat, precise handwriting. "Your children are not who they seem. One of them will disappear."